The USA may have been held to a 1-all draw by Wales in their opening FIFA World Cup encounter, and it might actually be a bad result for the Americans given that they were seen in some ways as the favorites for this particular match, given Wales aren't exactly the strongest side in the world and, in fact, were for the most part outplayed by the Americans if you were watching the match. But the interesting thing for the Americans was that their goal scorer, Timothy Weah, is someone who, in many ways, is footballing royalty and who many will be very happy to see actually make a mark in the World Cup, considering the kind of lineage he has and considering the kind of potential that many have seen in him even outside that lineage. Now, Timothy Weah, as you can probably guess, is in fact the son of legendary former Liberian footballer George Weah. Now, for those of you who don't know who George Weah is, well, he was a trailblazer for African football and, in fact, is the first known man to have actually won the Ballon d'Or from Africa. So he was a big deal, in the 80s and 90s. And George Weah, for the most part, was someone who had a very legendary career. And he's also currently the president of Liberia, given the fact that he had won the elections in, if I'm not wrong, 2017. Now, I can give you a little bit of insight on Timothy Weah because he's someone who I actually watched play live a few years back when he was in India for the Under-17 World Cup and was representing America. Now, he's someone who's, quick winger. He's very direct, pacey, not unlike his father in some ways, but obviously they're very different players. If you'd have watched George Weah play, you'd say that Timothy is a fairly different player, but Timothy does have a fair bit of talent, and he's in fact been playing, in the French league, Liga, for the past few years. He was in fact an academy graduate from Paris Saint-Germain. He left the club. He's currently at Lille. And the interesting thing, or perhaps one of the more interesting things about Timothy Weah was that he actually had the choice of playing for 4 different countries before he picked USA. Because, so he could have actually played for Jamaica, he could have played for Liberia, he could have played for the United States, and that's the choice he made, and he could have also played for France. He had the choice of 4 different countries. He eventually chose to play for the USA because, in his words, the USA felt like home to him, and of course, he'd grown up there, so he felt an attachment to the country. That's why he's playing for USA now, and in fact, as I said, I'd seen him play for the American under 19 team all the way back in, or the under 17 team, sorry, all the way back in 2017. It was a good prospect even back then. He seems to have obviously gotten a bit better now, and USA clearly trust him given that he was starting their first World Cup match. And the simple fact of the matter is, it's always nice to see players who come from legacies of the sort that Timothy Weah come from actually branch out, make a name for themselves. How far he can go from here, well, that's something that still is remaining to be seen. But simple fact of the matter is, the USA will be very happy that they could get, Timothy Weah performing well, even though they will be disappointed by the fact that they couldn't end up winning their game against Wales. Now remember, for Wales also it was an interesting match. It was the first World Cup game they'd played since 1958, and they weren't actually the better team for the most part. They were good in spells, but USA were generally speaking the better team. But doesn't really matter. Gareth Bale ended up getting them that all-important point after winning and converting a penalty. So obviously interesting match. Timothy Weah, definitely someone to watch out for in the future if you're someone who's interested in American football, or soccer as they call it. And of course, if you're just someone who's interested in the fact that he's the son of a legendary footballer and how far can he make it in his own right. So that's it from us for today and for actually tonight's updates and coverage from the FIFA World Cup. The matches for tonight are over. It was a very interesting day. I hope you enjoyed our coverage. If you did, you can show us your love by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon if you haven't already, of course, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Last but not least, download the AajTak app where you can check out the highlights from all of today's games, including goal-by-goal highlights. We have that exclusively for you guys on the app, so don't forget to go ahead, check it out, download the app so you can enjoy the best footballing and, of course, sporting coverage from around the world. Thank you all for joining us. Good night, take care, all of you, and goodbye. See you tomorrow.